Well, thank you everybody for joining us this evening. I hope that after such a crazy year, having Christmas Eve, still doing Christmas Eve the way we do Christmas Eve, singing Christmas hymns and Christmas carols and so forth, I hope you find some peace and some joy in that. I know I do. I was asking some of my friends, texting them, I was asking them, what is your favorite part of Christmas? And not only that, but what is your favorite Christmas song? And as I got the replies, I only had a small group that I was asking this of, but nobody said the same song, and nobody picked my favorite, which is kind of an interesting thing. My favorite won't be sung here tonight either, but it's interesting because it's possibly one of the oldest Christian Christmas songs that is still widely sung in the church today. We actually don't know who the author of it was. We know who the translator of it was. Our oldest copy dates to the 18th century. And probably then, if the oldest copy is from the 18th century, it's probably, older than the 18th century, right? Well, I'm going to not keep you in suspense any longer. It's O Come, Emanuel. We know the translator, but we don't know the author, and it's speculated who the author may have been. Obviously, it was somebody well-versed in the Old Testament and steeped into the New Testament because it's throughout. The song begins, O come, Emanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lowly exile here until the Son of God appear. And what's interesting is just in those few lyrics, the author brings to mind in the Old Testament when the people of God went into captivity. You had the Assyrian captivity, and later you had the Babylonian captivity, and the people of God were removed from the land, and they were taken to foreign lands in exile. But the author of the hymn talks about the exile ending with the birth of Christ. Now, what's interesting about that is the physical exile had been over for some 500 years by the birth of Christ. The people came back to the land under Ezra and Nehemiah. So why do you think that the author of this hymn thought the people were still in captivity, still in exile, even though they were back in the land? Well, despite the fact that they were back in the land, when Ezra and Nehemiah brought them back to the land, they were under Persian rule. And when the Persian Empire fell, the Greek Empire took over. Alexander the Great, you probably remember him from history class, right? And then when he died, his generals broke up his kingdom, and the Seleucids took over the Levant, Israel. And it was during that period that the Jews had just a glimpse of independence under the Maccabees for just a short time. But then Rome marched in. And so despite the fact that the people were back in the land, they were not free. There was no free Israel. And so the author of that hymn understood that despite the fact the people were back in the land for some 500 years, they weren't free until that Emanuel of Isaiah came to make people free and the kingdom of God be established forever. Now, this is still a powerful thought for you and I today. If you think about it, not many of us know what it is to literally be in captivity, literally be in exile. Now, there are people in this world that do know that, but not many people here today. But each one of us does know what it is to be in captivity to sin. Each one of us knows that sin exiles us from God. And it's with the coming of that Emmanuel that the captives are set free. We are transferred from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light. We were bought with a price. And this night we glory We glory in that Emanuel coming to ransom God's people, Israel.